Hi, I'm Al Martinez, and welcome to Untrashed. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to start on a few things. Well, I'm going to start on this one thing that sort of leads us into the Halloween theme type thing, because here at Nevada County Media Center, we're going to get into the Horrorfest prop making pretty soon. So today, I decided we're going to make a hanging bat. The way the bats, when they're ready to rest for the night, what they do is they grab onto a branch and they hang upside down. They take their wings and they wrap them around like this, and they basically just fall asleep. So we're going to do that. So we're going to make a bat that's hanging down. So I was thinking, okay, well, what can we use for the body? And what's one of those things that you get a lot of, and quite often they just get thrown away? So one of the things that I have a lot of is I have a lot of these. Okay, so I had 4 of them. So I thought, okay, well, let's look at how we can change this into a bat body. So I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this part where the legs come out of. So what I did is I figured if that's the body and the head's going to be here, the feet and the legs need to come out of this where it hangs upside down. So I took some wire, and I have a roll of this stuff, and this stuff is pretty cheap. It's called tie wire, and these come in rolls in the hardware store. And basically I cut pieces of this to make the legs. So I'll show you how I made these parts. So I cut one of these, and I think I cut it at 9 inches. So I'm going to measure 9 inches. And I'm going to cut that off like that. So what I did is I took this and I folded it in the middle. And this center part here I made flat, because this part is going to come out of the bottle. It's going to come out of the bottle cap. Okay, so it's kind of a U with a square bottom. And that's going to fit inside here like this. So then, what I did is I took my awl, and I have a special block here that I use for doing this process, and it's got a hole in it. So what I did is I put this over that, and I took my awl, and I punched a hole. And I measured about how far apart those holes need to be for this to come through. And I punched the second one. And I make those holes kind of big. Well, it depends on how you do this. They can stay small. And what you do is you take this and you push it from the inside out. Okay, so you've got that configuration there. And we're going to make the other part, because these are the first 2 little claws. So I take my pliers, and I'm going to bend this over like this. So those are going to be the little claws that make it that you can hang this up someplace. Okay, so that'll be able to hang like that. So then the other part, on either side of this, I'm going to make 2 more. So I'll take a bit more wire. And these I made 5 inches. And I'm only saying these dimensions because that's the size that I made. I've got one that I've already started that I'll show you in a minute. So this one again, I'm going to bend it in the middle. Okay, so it's going to be like that. Do another one here. So I've got two like this. So again, I'm going to bend the little ends to be the claws of the feet. Okay, so like that. Can you see that? I'll do two of these. So the way I did this is I put these like that. So you've got 2 feet that you can hang on something. Okay, so then what I did after I got that hot glued on there is I took this and I screwed it back onto the bottle. That's going to be the bat body that hangs on something. But this is not very teardrop shaped, which the way bats are, because bats, they're kind of broad at the shoulders and then they come up, and where their legs are, it's like a teardrop. So it comes up, and where their legs hang, the wings come in as they fold in. So it's kind of graceful looking with the head at the bottom. So I'll show you what I did with that. So I took my utility knife and I thought about what part of this do I need to cut away so I can collapse the top of this. So the first part I'm going to do is I'm going to take the handle off. And what I did is I cut this part down to about here, which I'll show you now. Okay, so what that does is it takes away a lot of the bulk of this, but you still can't squeeze it too much because this other side is stiff. So I'm going to cut that part off too. And you don't have to worry about it if this looks a bit messy because you're going to cover this up. And always be careful with the Stanley knife because these things are sharp, and the next thing you know, you got blood dripping all over your table. Okay. So now what I can do is I can squeeze that in, but see how it gets wider here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that. I make a slit down each side. So now when I squeeze it together, I can create a bit more of a teardrop shape like that. So what I did with the one that I started yesterday is see how this part overlaps here? I used my hole punch. And I punched 2 holes in here. Which is not as easy as you think because this plastic is a bit tough, especially with a label on it. There we go. So then when I squeeze it together, those 2 holes line up. And I just took a piece of scrap wire, and you can use those little twisty things that you get on the milk, on the bread packages, the ones that they're like paper with wire in the middle. Those work pretty good. I don't have any of those here, so I just took this scrap wire. You can also use a paper clip. Anything that will hold these 2 things together. Okay, so essentially what you want to do is you want to be able to cover this and have this become teardrop shape. So I'll show you the one that I started yesterday. So this is the one I started yesterday, and you can see there's a little bread twisty right there that I used. On the other side, I didn't have another one, so I used a paper clip. So now this is flexible enough that I can collapse the top. I made the top with the 2 feet hot glued in, so I can screw that down on there like that. Okay, so then the other thing I thought about is that what am I going to do for the head? So this part's flat, so it needs a little bit of a shoulder here and then the head. So I made a couple of different things that I thought I could use. One of them was a styrofoam, like a little esky or a little refrigerated thing, and they're quite cheap and people throw them away. So I took one of those and I cut it up into a couple pieces. One of them was like this. So that's going to give it kind of the shoulders. And the other one I shaped to look a little bit like a bat head. So those get put on top of each other. Like that. Okay, and this is again, this is just rough. You can spend as much time as you want creating these things as detailed as you like. I'm just giving you the basics so you can start, okay? And there's no rules. You can do whatever you want. As long as you're happy with the end result, that's the most important thing. Leave that there. Put that aside for a minute. So the next thing I thought about was about what kind of trash can we use for the wings that can be wrapped around this to make it look like the bat's going to fall asleep. all tucked in nice and comfy. So one of the things that I've been collecting kind of grudgingly are these plastic shopping bags. They say they can reuse them, but not very many people do. So I thought, let's figure out what to do with this. So I thought, first thing we'll do is we'll cut it open and we'll see how much material we can get out of this. So I took my scissors, and the way that these are made is they're made with a seam on the side here, and then it's got a weird kind of base at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this whole side off to see what it's like when it's opened. And I decided to use these because they're gray. They're at least dark. Okay, so now I've cut those off. So when I open this up, I've got that much material to work with. So when I decided I was going to do a bat, what I did is I had a look online and looked at some photographs of some bats. And I looked at the bats when they were flying and when they were hanging upside down. And what I discovered is that the length of the bat from the feet to the head is about the same as one wing. So I figured, okay, well that's that size. So the wings are going to be about that wide. So it's going to be between the two holes. So then what I did is I put my bat down like this, figuring the head will be up here. And I roughly thought what the bat wing is going to look like. And this is what I came up with. I came up with this shape. So I laid that down on top of the thing. Like this. And I marked this out and I cut it. So that gave me you have to be careful where you put your hot glue gun. I put this down here. So I cut 2 of these bags open so that I would have 2 of these pieces. So I'll show you how that works. Okay, so that's the center seam here. And I put this down here. I marked it out and I cut it to that shape. When you open it up, ta-da! What you have is you have a bat wing that covers the body. And that's one of the best things I like about shopping bags is I use them for making patterns. I use them for if I'm doing something messy that you don't want the table to get dirty. I use the shopping bags and then you can just throw them away. Or the other thing I've done in the past, and I did this on an earlier Untrashed, is I showed you how to make paper from either shopping bags. We actually made a book with the shopping bags, but I've made paper using junk mail. So the material that the paper is made of can be recycled in so many different ways. I've done paper mache with this shopping bags. It's a really resourceful material. Okay, so we have 2 of these now. And this is as far as I got yesterday's. So from here on this, we're going to just make things up as we go along. Okay. So I thought, okay, we've got 2 of these. And I'm going to put the printed side to the inside. So before I put these wings on, what we're going to do is we're going to attach the body to the shoulder and the head. Now, the thing you have to remember is that when the bat hangs upside down, the head points towards the feet. Is that right? Yeah, no, the head points away from the feet. So when the bat lands, the head is pointing this way and it's hanging that way. Because as it's flying, the claws are pointing backwards. So when the bat is hanging like this, the head will be pointing that way. Okay, so I'm going to glue that on there like that. Now we're going to figure out how to put these wings on. And one of the things that, I don't know how many people understand this about bats, is that the bats, basically, their wings are nothing more than a big hand with fabric between the fingers. And basically what the bats do is they fly using their hands. So I'm trying to figure out what we can do to make these fingers. And the other thing I want you to notice is that, so this point here is a knuckle. And this point here is a fingertip. That's a fingertip, and that's a fingertip. And then from here, the skin goes right down to their ankle. So I thought, maybe if we use these bamboo skewers, okay, so these are pretty cheap. You can get these at the dollar store, or you can roll up paper, whatever. So I thought, let's make this. Let's try this. Let's try this, okay? Okay, we're into trial mode right now. I'll take 2 of those. So this is going to have 1, 2, 3. Going to have 3 fingers on each side. We won't do the top one. Again, this is just something I'm sort of experimenting with, and you're watching me do this. Okay, we're just playing Untrashed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully put some hot glue on the bamboo skewers and lay them down on the plastic. I'll move this other one out of the way for right now. The other thing that's great about these bamboo skewers is because it's bamboo, you can shape them quite nicely. So we'll see how this works. See if I can not burn myself. If you can think of a better way to do this, go for it. Okay, because each of us have different ways of solving problems. So I want you to feel that you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You can say, I think I want to try something else. So we got one more here. So this one I'm actually going to leave longer because if you look at Bat's photographs, coming out of this corner here, there's a claw. So I'm going to leave this one sticking out. Then we and this is where it gets kind of exciting and a little bit scary. I'm going to lay this down here. Put a little bit of hot glue in a couple places where it makes contact. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up the head with the feet in the middle of the wings here. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like from the back. See? Then I'm going to try something that might work and it might not. I'm going to take this wing and I'm just going to fold it over like this, which is what bats do, because what they do is they take their wings and they basically just wrap themselves up before they go to sleep. So before I do that, I'm going to glue this part to the ankles. So I'm going to put glue on the bottle cap and on the ankle of the feet. This is the part that I like, that's most of the fun. You think, what am I doing? I'm going a little bit around the shoulders. And then I'm going to wrap him up. Not exactly what I thought, but it's close. And if you're doing this, give the hot glue plenty of time to dry and cool so it doesn't come undone when you're trying to finish. And you can paint all this black if you want, or if you want to use a black garbage bag, you can do it. But anyway, that's the basis of what we're doing here, is we're making a hanging bat. Okay. So the head I would have painted, if I had more time, I would have painted it black, and I would have put little eyes and that sort of stuff. The other thing to think about using is using these black garbage bags, because they are black. And they're a little bit more flexible than this stuff. This one's quite stiff. But anyway, there you have it. A hanging bat made from trash. So thanks for watching, and remember, every little bit of untrashed helps.